Hey everybody, this is Mark Bunting, the lead pastor of Emmanuel Church here in Salisbury, and I want to welcome you and thank you so much for joining us for our online church platform today. It's so good to have you. Hey, listen, our mission here at Emmanuel is to engage everyone everywhere, and one of the greatest ways that you can help us do that is by participating with the online chat today. We have our eChurch volunteers ready to pray for you, ready to talk with you, ready to see how we could best connect with you. So make sure you participate on the online experience today. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a great experience.
Hey, so I have a passage of scripture I want to read to you guys. Welcome to Christmas at Emmanuel. And we're going to be reading this. This is week 2 of our Christmas series. I'm going to be reading this passage from 2 Kings, okay? So if you need to get a head start or look in your introduction to see where 2 Kings is, this is your time to shine. But 2 Kings, this is not generally a Christmas passage. In fact, it's not a Christmas passage at all. But what has happened is I've just been doing a study on this book of 2 Kings, and this word just came to me, and it's been sticking in my bones. It's been in my head, and I believe that God has something for you today. One of the most profound things somebody has ever said to me was, your expectation determines your revelation. So if you're coming in here today and you're expecting to be out by 9:45, you got 15 minutes. I promise I won't be done by then, hopefully like 9:46, okay? But your expectation determines what you get from today. So are you expecting to get something, or are you expecting to just go to Denny's right after? Like, what is it? But I want you to know that the Old Testament brings so much power to the New Testament because it reveals the nature of God. And I'll get to the New Testament, I promise. But to set some context for you guys, the book of 2 Kings has a prequel called 1 Kings. Some of you may have been able to guess that. And what it does is it tells the story of kings, okay? The Bible's not as complex as people think it is. And what happens is, after David reigns, King David, who killed Goliath, there's been a sequence of kings, there's been a sequence of people who some are good, some are really trash kings, some are excellent, some are just bottom of the barrel, like bad people. And what happens in 1st, 2nd Kings is that there's this cycle of king after king. Some are really good, some are really bad. And the reason that they're bad is because they see what their daddy did, they see what their granddaddy did, they hear about all the history of the kingdom, and they're just like, oh, let's just keep it the same. But there came this time where someone, this man's father passed away, and this kid was 8 years old when he became king of Judah. Does anybody want to go down to kids' church, pick out an 8-year-old kid, and be like, yo, bro, what's up? You're going to be the new president of the United States. Are you ready? Actually, just king of the world, actually. Are you ready? And they'd be like, bro, I just want some gummies. You know what I'm saying? I want some Gushers. And so we pick up in 2 Kings chapter 22. I'm actually going to skip around this book. So if you see the screen change, just try to pay attention. I'm reading verses 1 through 3, 8, and then 18 to 20. So it says this: Josiah was 8 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years. His mother was Jedidiah, the daughter of Adaiah from Bozkath. This is the important part, is that he did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight and followed the example of his ancestor David. He did not turn away from doing what was right. In the 18th year of his reign, King Josiah sent Shaphan, son of Azaliah and grandson of Meshullam. How many people are going to name your next kid Meshullam? Okay. This court secretary to the temple of the Lord. He sent them to the temple of the Lord. He told him, Hilkiah the high priest said to Shaphan, the court secretary, I have found the book of the law in the Lord's temple. They had found something that the entire nation should have been built off of, but instead it was buried away because of decades and decades of living the wrong way. So they said, we have found the book of the law in the Lord's temple. So then Hilkiah gave the scroll to Shaphan and he read it. But go to the king of Judah who sent you to seek the Lord and tell him this. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says concerning the message you have just heard. You see, Josiah was living in a time where people were stuck in the idolatry and stuck in the patterns of the past, which was actually driving them further and further away from God. So he said, and Josiah was so sick of it, that's why he sent the messenger. And he said, you were sorry and humbled yourself before the Lord when you heard what I said against this city and its people. that this land would be cursed and become desolate. You tore your clothing in despair and wept before me in repentance, and I have indeed heard you, says the Lord. So I will not send the promised disaster until after you have died and been buried in peace. You will not see the disaster I'm going to bring on the city. So they took her message back to the king. Merry Christmas at Emmanuel. Second Kings are like, what's happening here? What's going on? But before we get into anything, I want to talk to you guys about the title of my message, which is this, is that it's the gift that keeps on giving. The gift that keeps on giving. And I have three things I want to talk to you, or the gift we never asked for. That works too. There are some things that I want you guys to know about me, okay? Number one, I'm 25, about to turn 26, okay? Some of y'all are just like, you're not 40? I'm like, no, it's just the beard, okay? If I shave the beard, you'd be like, you look like 12. But the thing about me is that I turned 26 in 13 days. Christmas, yeah. Y'all are just like, we don't care. Just keep going. But the thing is, I was born on Christmas, and so actually what ended up happening is when I grew up, I developed this disorder of only getting presents once a year. And it only happens to people who are born on December 25th, because, yeah, Megan's born on December. I've only met a few people that are born on Christmas. I know there's a lot more, but you develop this habit of only getting presents once a year. And I remember when I was growing up at my grandma's house, I come from a Bolivian family, and she always cooked all these foods that I've never eaten anywhere else. And I remember sitting at the dinner table, and if you guys have little kids in your family, you guys have experienced this as well. And maybe you're dreading it because you're just like trying to enjoy your turkey and gravy. And the kids are like, yeah, let's get some presents, let's go, like hurry up. And I remember being at this age where all that I could care about and all that I was worried about was the presents underneath the tree. And so we end up finishing our food, and I have two other siblings. My sister's here, and my brother, he's older than me. And we go sit under the tree, and what we did back then is, you guys may still do it, is we took a present, and we each took one, and I got to open one first because it was my birthday. You know, I got some perks, okay? Some perks are being born on December 25th. What ended up happening is I would open mine, and then my brother and my sister, and then we would just go around until we were all done with our presents. And I remember this one Christmas, anybody love Star Wars in here? Okay, if you don't love Star Wars, I'm going to talk to you after church. Just come see me. I'll explain. It'll save you, actually. It makes you a better Christian. Pastor said it, right? So it's true. No, I'm just kidding. But the thing about Star Wars is when I was at this age, I might have been like 8 or 9. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't the newer Star Wars, like 7, 8, 9 that just came out recently. It was when there was just the prequels, and they came out, just the sequels, and they came out with the prequels 1, 2, and 3. Some people consider them the worst Star Wars movies. I don't really care about your opinion because I love all Star Wars, okay? And so what happened is Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, just came out, and I was hyped. I was hyped up because they were introducing all these new clone troopers, and some of you guys are just like, you're talking like over my head, and don't worry, it's okay. And so I was expecting this Christmas to get this big package of action figures. This big package. Anybody like action figures in here? You're like used to play with action figures? And so what would happen is I would pick up a package that would look like this or would look like this. Maybe it was a little bit bigger because, it's my birthday and Christmas. So I was expecting a little bit more something like this than a little red package. And so what would happen is I would pick up a package and it'd be my turn to open. And what I would do is I would unwrap it and get all pumped up and get all excited. And what I would pull out is some underwear. I was like, go Justin, go Rachel, I need to get to the next present because that's not what I asked for. And I get to the next present and I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe the big one, maybe they did that on purpose, maybe they're trying to mess with my head, okay? I get to the next present and we do a speed round, because somehow I think Justin and Rachel, I think they orchestrated, so we opened the underwear first, and so we all got underwear, and get to the next present, I'm like, oh, this is it, this has got to be it. Open it. It's socks. 8 or 9-year-old Jake was not having it, okay? I said, get this thing. I hit myself in the head. I said, I just want to get to the thing that I'm expecting. I want to get to the thing that I've asked for. And so what happens is they go to a different room and they pull out a package about this size and they say, hey, Jake, here's the final present. My Uncle Mike, my Uncle Al, my Uncle Mike's probably watching online right now. They pull out this log, it looked like a log of wrapping paper. And I look at it and I unwrap it, and it's all these Star Wars action figures, and I'm all excited, and I guarantee you I needed the underwear, I needed the socks, because my parents do something that maybe most people didn't, is that my socks and underwear were holy, not the kind that you wear to church, but but what I got, well, I finally got the thing that I was asking for. But a lot of times what we get in life are things that we didn't ask for. Sometimes they're things we need, sometimes they're things that we don't want, that we don't need. But there is a gift that keeps on giving. And I have 3 things I want to talk to you guys about real quick today. And the first thing is this, is that in order for the gift to keep on giving, sometimes we get gifts that we never asked for. Sometimes we get gifts that we have never asked for. And so I know for me in my life, the things that I was so disappointed in, the things that hurt me, or the things that I needed but I was disappointed in, were the underwear and the socks. But I want to take it to a little bit more serious level for us in here today. Maybe there is something in your life that you've never asked for that you have received. And I'm looking at this passage in the Old Testament. You're like, Jake, how is this all going to tie together? And I look at Josiah. And the thing about Josiah is, you guys notice how descriptive it was, and how on purpose it was saying that he lived in the Lord's sight as a pleasing king. He pleased God his whole life, and he never turned from his ways. Never once. He died as being, my version is the New Living Testament, or New Living Translation, sorry. And it describes him as being one of the best kings to ever rule in Judah or Israel. And I'm just always thinking, I'm like, oh, wasn't David one of the best? But it's like, no, because Josiah never turned. He never turned away from what God had asked him to do. But if you guys understood the story, if you understood the history of where Josiah came from, then it wouldn't make sense how he ended up this way. You see, the gift that Josiah never asked for was for him to become king. You're like, isn't that like a good thing? Like, isn't this a place where he can be in power and he can be popular? And that's like probably the pinnacle of his life, is becoming king. But the thing with being the king of Judah and Israel is that it comes with responsibility. Have you ever asked for something in your life that has come with a responsibility that you never expected? I know I have. I know, just being real super quick, I have a dog. I always wanted a puppy. I got a puppy, and I wanted to send the puppy back. I was just like, this is a lot of work. And I don't have kids yet, so I know that's a whole nother level. But there were things that I had asked for in my life that I did not expect the responsibility or the repercussions that came from me asking and receiving it. And so for Josiah in his life, I look at it and I'm just like, man, this looks like a good thing. And we see the end result of his life, but I'm looking at him and I'm just like, how did you transform from the things that have been put on you? How have you performed and transformed your kingmanship? Because the thing about his ancestors, about his daddy and his granddaddy and his great-granddaddy, is that the way that they were kings in Judah and in Israel and in the land is that they worshiped idols. They worshiped these things called Asherah poles. If you guys, I literally Googled it because I had no idea what it was. Like, they just like put a lacrosse stick in the ground and like praise it. Like, what is that? It was actually like, a lot of times it was sometimes just a stick in the ground that they would worship because it was praising a false god, Asherah, literally. But sometimes they would like build monuments to it, or they would plant a tree and then shape the tree in the way that they would want it. And his whole life, Josiah, all he ever saw that was put on example for him was this way to live that was opposite of who God was. And so today I want to talk to you guys about something called a generational curse. And I have this awesome mentor, Paul. He's sitting in the front row right now, and we're talking about it. And I'm going to go a different direction than kind of maybe what you're thinking. But a generational curse is a real thing. Sometimes there can be spiritual bondage in your life that is passed down from generation to generation. But I want to talk to you guys today about a generational curse that I want to rephrase as a generational habit. A generational habit, something that has been passed down from generation to generation, and all that it's ever become is normal for you in your life. You see, the gift that we never asked for sometimes is presented to us by our parents or the people that we surround ourselves with when we're younger. Or maybe even let me challenge parents a little bit more. It's the friends that you choose that your kids are surrounded by their entire life as they're growing up. What are they exposed to? When you're going over to their house and your kids are playing with their kids, what are they exposed to when you're hanging out with your friends? what is happening in your life that is setting up your kids' future? Or what did your grandfather do? What does your father do that has been passed down, that has been a generational habit? And if I'm being honest, there's people in here that you would choose a different gift in your life if you could. Gift has a very positive connotation to it. But a gift is something that someone gives to you, whether you want it or not. Jimmy McIntyre. Some of y'all know him. We all love him. When I came on staff, he scared the bejesus out of me in the back, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. But there is something about Jimmy that is constant every year. We have a staff Christmas party every year, okay? Y'all ever heard of White Elephant? Or like a gift exchange. We had to spend $5 on a gift. Jimmy always goes above and beyond, okay? Jimmy gives gifts that you don't want to open. Jimmy gives gifts that you don't want to receive and that you definitely don't want to take home, okay? Because there's going to be a lot of questions about it. And I love Jimmy, but my first year going, people told me, be careful of Jimmy's of his present that he brings. And so every year since then, I've been spying on Jimmy. When he walks in those doors, I'm spying what color package his is. And when it's my turn to pick a present, I'm not picking Jimmy's. Because the thing that's inside of that bag or that box, I promise you, I don't want it. Because I'm gonna just be like, I'm not even gonna open it. Just go to the next person. Because I'll just take it home, I'll throw it in the dumpster, whatever it may be. But Jimmy is so good at White Elephant. And sometimes in our life, the thing about life really, and where we're born into and what we're born into, you don't get to pick it. You don't get to spy out Jimmy's package. And you've heard about it. You're just like, I'm going to avoid it at all costs. The thing is that we are handed our hand in life, and we don't know what to do with it sometimes. You see, there is a gift that keeps on giving, but sometimes the gift that keeps on giving is something that we never asked for. I have an anger problem. Why do you have an anger problem? It's because my dad had an anger problem. Why do you struggle with trust? Why do you have trust issues? It's because my mom cheated on my father when I was growing up. There are certain things that are passed down from generation to generation that we as adults may not even realize or we may not even see. But the gift that we never asked for can actually turn into the gift that keeps on giving. Did you know that today? This is not a message to bring you down. It's something I want to encourage you in this Christmas season today. The gift that keeps on giving. The second thing I want to talk to you guys about today is that there is a list of expectations. There is a list of expectations. When I got married, me and my wife, we bought a house, and with the house, it was empty, so we needed to buy furniture, and picked up the furniture and got it delivered to the house, whatever. I remember sitting in my living room we got really nice sectional, and it didn't come with the legs on it. And I was a 23, maybe 22, I don't remember how old I was, young man, and I had a screwdriver, okay? And I didn't have any power tools because I just moved in, and what happened is I had to turn over each section of the couch. I think there was 3 pieces and maybe 4 or 5 legs on, maybe 4, that'd make more sense. There's 4 legs or 4 bases on each. Hey, you never know what kind of couch people have these days, you know what I'm saying? Might have the extra support beam in the middle. You got to get that 5th leg. And so what ended up happening is that I had the tools that could get the job done, but it wasn't really the most efficient way, and definitely was not the best way. And so what I did is it came with these really awesome screws that, if you had the right tools, would have been incredible. You'd have been done in 5 minutes. All I had was a screwdriver. And so what I did is I took my screwdriver and I took the screw and I put the base on the bottom of the couch, and I started screwing. I hand screwed. It took me 2.5 hours to do 12 of these bases on the bottom. And I'm thinking to myself, I was like, man, if I only had the right tools for this job, then I could have been done. I could have been chilling on the couch that I was trying to build. I didn't have to build anything. All I had to do was screw some nails into the bottom of the couch. And I was like, man, if I had asked somebody for something, or maybe if I had a user manual to explain to me how to do this well, maybe I could have been a little bit more prepared for this experience in my life. And I had calluses on my hand because I have little girl hands. So, but there is a list of expectations that come with the gift. And can I be honest with you, when I'm looking at Josiah's life, there are expectations that were put on him. Hey, when you're a king, make sure that you allow the prostitutes into the temple. When you're a king, make sure that you go and make your sacrifices to Asherah. This is an 8-year-old little kid. And it wasn't that they thought it was wrong, it was just normal because nobody had ever changed something. Nobody had ever challenged the general expectations of the community and where they lived in during that time. And so Josiah grew up and he was, I'm guessing, 26 years old because it says 18 years into his reign, and he's 26, he's looking at it, he's like, man, something feels off about this. I'm stuck in my ways of worshiping Asherah, and we're letting prostitutes into all these places, and I guess it was okay for a time because my dad did it and my granddaddy did it, but this feels a little bit off to me. Can I tell you something about Josiah? Is that he was not alone in his rulership. He was not alone as the king. Do you know what Josiah had around him? He had some good friends. He had friends in his life and mentors and people that would call him out of where he was, and they would call, maybe we had talked about it in our little meetings or whatever it may have been, but somebody said this to me really recently. They said, find friends that call you up and not just call you out. You have to find friends, you have to find people in your life that care more about your soul than your happiness for the present moment. If all we live in, or maybe even, I think the dangerous thing sometimes, we're like, I want to get around people that will call me out, but don't just get around people that will call you out and leave you there. They say, hey, this is a problem for you in your life, and you need to fix it. Get around people that are going to call you out, call you up, and walk with you through it. The thing about Josiah is that he had this servant or this somebody around him that actually would listen to him, and they were like, hey, can you go seek out this prophet or seek out this? He literally said, go look for the law of the Lord. And when he went to go look for the law of the Lord, this is crazy, y'all. The expectations of the world that he was living in and the expectations of the scroll that he found, they did not match up. Do you know that when you encounter Jesus truly, that your expectations of your present world and the expectations that God has of you, they don't match up? We're just like, man, it's all about money, it's all about fame, it's all about power, it's about what I leave my kids with. Hey, it's cool if you leave your kids with $1 million, but how's their soul doing? I'm the youth pastor now, so y'all gotta hold me back a little bit because I get defensive about our youth because they're not the next generation. Pastor Ted says it best, they're the now generation, okay? What are we doing with our expectations? Are we checking our expectations or our realities with what the Word says? The Bible is so clear about what Josiah was living in, and we're just like, man, that was so long ago. That was before Jesus was born. It's like, yeah, but humanity, we love repeating history. Like, yeah, we built the car, okay, and we can fly in the air, but we live in the same kind of culture that Josiah lived in back then. You're like, yeah, man, but we don't have a pole that we worship. You ever been scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook for what seems like 10 minutes? You look up at the clock and it's been 3 hours. Don't play with me, church. I know y'all. I see all what you guys all post on there. Do we spend too much time talking about people? And we act like it's a prayer request, but really it's a gossip circle? Do I need to back up a little bit? I'm sorry, I don't want to come for anybody's neck. Merry Christmas at Emmanuel, right? But the thing is that we live in the same culture where we idolize, and I was debating saying this one. I'm just going to say it. If we spend more time at the ball field than we do at the church with our kids, what do you think our kids are going to grow up worshiping? What are we setting as an example for them that they see, hey, I'm watching my parents do this, so it must be important. No matter how they act around you, they watch what you do and they do what you do. Because a generational curse is actually a generational habit that is passed down from generation to generation. What are you setting as an example for your life? And if you're just like, I don't know what to do, look to the Word of God, because Josiah said, something is up, something is wrong, we have to fix this. Can you go look for the prophet? And when the prophet brought it back, the user manual was showing them that you were doing it with the wrong tools. You're trying to build your life with a screwdriver, but if you knew about the power screwdriver, whatever it's called, I don't even know what it's called. I'm not going to try. A drill. Thank you so much. I have a drill. I'm not like Pastor Mark. I actually, I try sometimes. But if we had the right user manual, and it's hard work. I'm not standing up here saying it's easy, because I promise you it's hard. What would look different in our life? We feel so empty. Well, what are you spending the most time on in your life? We feel like we have no direction. Then who are you talking to about your direction? Are you going to God? Are you truly asking him? Or are you looking on Facebook for the opinions of other people? Like, I don't know what it is. But can I tell you what? Your list of your expectations in this season, maybe you have to rip it up. Maybe you have to rip up your list and start looking at God's. You're just like, man, nothing's changing in my life. Nothing is working. Rip up your list, because God has more for you. Third and final thing, before I get there, I want to read to you guys. We're getting to the New Testament. Are y'all excited? Mark chapter 1, if you're following me. Mark chapter 1, the gift of Christmas. Mark chapter 1, verses 16 to 20 says this. One day, as Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and his brother Andrew throwing a net into the water, for they fish for a living. Jesus called out to them, "Come follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people." And they're just like, "Jesus, you can't. If you fish for people, it's like assault. I can't throw my nets on the people, so." And they left their nets at once and followed him. A little farther up the shore, Jesus saw Zebedee's sons, which is a sick name. I might name my next dog Zebedee. Zebedee. Come on. James and John. In a boat repairing their nets. So he called them at once, and they also followed him, leaving their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired men. I wish you guys knew what I knew, and you're about to know what I know. So the third and final thing is that there is an exchange policy. The exchange policy. Picking up my socks and my underwear. I don't know what it was, but I went to Walmart maybe like a year or two ago before COVID, and I was returning this stick of deodorant, okay? It was antiperspirant. I don't do antiperspirant, okay? I do like the gel. Anybody else with me? If not, it's okay. We'll talk about it later. Come ask me after why I do that. And so I was returning it to Walmart, and I walk in. I'm just like, hey, can I exchange this deodorant stick for a gel one? It was Old Spice, the best deodorant in the world. I'm not sponsored by them, but Old Spice, if you're listening. And I'm so sorry. And so I go and I talk to the customer service, and I'm just like, hey, can I exchange this deodorant and just go get a new one? They're like, yeah, just go grab it. Come on back. I was like, all right, bet. So I go grab the best smelling one, Bear Glove, Old Spice. And I bring it back, and they're like, all right, you're good to go. And I was like, I don't need to scan anything. Nope, we already took care of it for you, okay? I went back recently. I don't know what it is about people buying me the antiperspirant deodorant. I don't use it, as you can tell, but I went back. It was a 2-pack this time, and I went back to Walmart maybe a few months ago, and I was just like, hey, can I exchange this for a new deodorant? And I started to walk away. They're like, no. Excuse me? And they're just like, no, we actually have a new policy that you need to have the receipt for the deodorant so that we can make sure it was in our system. And I was like, I grew up with a Walmart that would take anything and just sell it again. It's just what I grew up with. And so what ended up happening is I had to take the deodorant home, and it's still up in my attic. I don't know why it's up there, but I should throw it away. And what actually ended up happening is that through time, the policy actually changed to where I needed a receipt. And so this is actually the cool thing about the Bible, is that there's an exchange policy in the Bible that has never changed. And so I want to prove it to you, okay? So Walmart had a return policy, but the Bible doesn't. I don't have this back there, so follow me just right here. Matthew chapter 1, verses 11, and then 16 to 17. Josiah was the father of Jehoiachin. How do you say that? No idea, but we're going to go with that. And his brothers, who were born at the time of the exile to Babylon. Worship team, y'all can come up. And I'm going to jump to verse 16, where it gets to the lineage of Jesus. Jacob was the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary. Mary gave birth to Jesus, who was called the Messiah. I skipped a few generations, but all those listed above include 14 generations from Abraham to David, and 14 from David to the Babylonian exile, and 14 from the Babylonian exile to the Messiah. The birth of Jesus had a gift that kept on giving. Josiah lived in a family where they were stuck in the habit of worshiping everything else in their life except for him. And Josiah stood up when he could have sat down, and he said, I am sick and tired of living in these patterns. There's got to be more. My grandfather, Daniel Duty, I don't even know where we came from, Ireland. He came over and was raised in the idea of religion. And there came a time in his life where he stood up, and while he was raising my mom and all of his kids, while he lost his wife and remarried and lost his next wife, in the middle of him standing up, where his father didn't live for Jesus, his grandfather didn't live for Jesus, there was a generational pattern, there was a generational habit that was set before him that he could have sat in and settled with. But he decided to take a stand. And my grandfather truly is one of the reasons why I'm here today. It's also for my father, also for my mother, and their prayers. But there had to be somebody who would stop the slide of their family's destiny. They say, yes, they expect us to stay in these patterns. They expect us to stay stuck where we're at, what we should stay stuck in. They expect that. But what would happen today, church, if we started to stand up? He said, Josiah stood up and he checked the word. He said, what does God say about what we're doing? We are God's chosen people, but what are we doing with that? Josiah stood up and he sought out the answers. It's not easy. You don't just get to stand up. You got to go seek. You got to do the work. There is an exchange policy, and we see a generational blessing flow from Josiah's obedience. You see, if Josiah would have stayed stuck as a terrible king, what would have happened is the Babylonian exile would have come, and we don't know what would have happened to the line. God would have always found a way, but we don't know what would have happened to the line of Jesus if Josiah wasn't faithful with what he was given. Do you know that you are more important than you think you are, church? I'm tired of watching church people stand on the sidelines for their family. Get in the game. Because can I promise you, don't wait on anybody else. It's about you. It's about what you do. Josiah said, I'm sick and tired of watching my family suffer. There is hurt, there is anguish, there is addiction, there is anxiety, there is depression, there is generational disease in my family, and what am I going to do about it? I'm deciding to stand because there is an exchange policy, but there is something cool about this passage of Matthew. You see, Jesus was walking along the shore, and he decided to call some people. He said, Simon and Andrew, come with me. You know what they did? They dropped their nets immediately and followed Jesus. And then he went to Zebedee Boats Corporation, okay? ZBC. Look it up. Don't look it up. I don't know what that's going to be. And he said, hey, sons of thunder or lightning, whatever you are, James and John, come follow me. They looked at their dad, they dropped their nets, and they left their father. Holy Spirit. Because of the generational blessing that Josiah had passed down, that maybe skipped a few generations, there came a blessing on Jesus' life. Yes, he's the Son of God, he's the Son of Man, but there was an external blessing that came onto his life because of Josiah's obedience. Do you know what the blessing is? It's the blessing of exchange. He said, hey, James and John and Simon and Andrew, you got nets and you got a gifting, you got a profession, but I got more for you today. Would you drop your net, stop fishing for fish, and come fish for people? There is a blessing of exchange today. This is not a call for you to drop your job and come work at Emmanuel Church. That's not what I'm saying. But what if you took your profession and you put Jesus in the middle of it? What if you exchanged the idea that you would be embarrassed if you lived differently than everybody else? And you said, I'm going to stand different and people are going to ask me what's different about me. And I'm going to be able to tell them, I exchanged something I used to be for now who I am. There is a gift of exchange. And so Josiah exchanged the ways of sin, the life of sin, the patterns and the habits of sin. And he said, I'm done with this. I'm taking on what God has for me. And the generational blessing gets passed just as easily, maybe not just as easily, but it gets passed just as contagiously as the generational habit does. What you said as an example gets passed down. And can I tell you that the generational blessing of exchange did not come at the moment that Jesus was walking the shore. Can I tell you when it came? It's when Jesus exchanged heaven and perfection and time with his Father and the Holy Spirit, and he exchanged all of that to come as a little baby. You want to talk about a gift that keeps on giving? Jesus is the greatest gift. Y'all are like, man, that's corny. That's church. This is corny church talk. Jesus' life started as an exchange, and it ended as one too. Do you know that the generational blessing that Jesus exchanged with the disciples? He said, hey, you have this job and you have this occupation, but I have more for you. He is saying the same to every single one of you in here today. He's saying, I have more for you. The things that you feel stuck in, the things that you feel like you can't do, you'll never become, Jesus is saying, take the things out of your hands and take my hand, and I will show you. Man, Jesus is literally the greatest gift that we've ever received. Jesus made the greatest exchange for 33 years. And then he made another exchange. The thing about Josiah is that his life and his blessing passed down from generation to generation. What are you passing down this holiday? You just bought them the new AirPods. Cool. But do they know Jesus? Because I tell you what, their soul matters more than what they're listening to in their ears or what they're looking at on their iPad. The gift that keeps on giving is Jesus. It's the Christmas story. And I hope that blessed someone in here today. Is that God has more for you than you even think. We have this saying in One Youth, it's that you're made for more. I don't care if you're 10 or you're 110. If you're 110, come see me. I want to give you a high five because that's awesome. But nobody can impact the circles that you can. I have kids in my youth group who, they're like, Jake, how can I ever do anything because I feel like I'm socially awkward. I tell them, hey, do you have socially awkward friends? They're like, yeah. Do you guys all get along? Yeah. Then did you know that you're the only one that can impact them? Oh, you work in a doctor's office where you gotta wear masks and you can't even smile at people all day. Do you know that there's nobody else that can go in that office and can have the impact that you can? Oh, you're a mechanic where people are cussing and swearing all day. And sometimes you feel tempted to give in, but can I tell you something? Is that there's a gift of exchange, and God wants to bless where you work. He wants to bless the things that you do in the places that you work. And God's saying, I want you to work with your hands, but I want you to work with your mouth too. I want you to invite people. I want you to show them that there's something different. There's a gift of exchange. There's a gift that keeps on giving, so don't give up just because it's hard. There's always more. The greatest gift of Christmas is the gift that keeps on giving. Pray with me. God, we love you. Thank you for today. God, I pray that this word would just go with somebody, would encourage someone, God, that they would seek out your truth, God, that they would seek out how to live more like you. God, I thank you for Josiah standing in the gap for his family. Standing in the gap so that one day Jesus could stand and lay down and be hung up on a cross and come down from heaven. I thank you for the sacrifice of the gift. I pray that you'd be with your people today, God. We love you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us today for our eChurch Online. We're so grateful that you took the time to join us today. If you made a decision for Christ or need prayer, want to know just a little bit more about the church or your relationship with God, we'd love to connect with you. If you could text that number on the bottom of the screen, someone will be reaching out to you to see how we can best serve you. Again, thank you so much for joining us today.